Welcome to Universal Man, where we turn your flight into fight so that you can master yourself and conquer your goals. My name is Mark Weppett, and I'm here to help you sharpen your masculine edge so that you can cut through the resistance that's holding you back from living on the front lines of life and being a man that you admire. And today, I am back with another episode of the Sexual Self-Mastery series. In this episode, we're going to be tackling the topic of what to do instead of watching porn. Because you can't just not watch porn. You got to replace it with something else. But you also can't just replace it with like one thing, all right? There has to be a holistic shift in the way that you live your life, really. And while this may seem daunting, it's really not. You just need to understand how it works and you need to create a clear plan. And so that's what we're going to be covering today. Most guys struggle to quit porn because they aren't building the right habits to replace porn. If you want to learn the simple habit replacement system I've used to help thousands of men quit porn and develop self-mastery, then click the link in the description below and download my free Reboot Regimen guide. So before we go any further, I need to kind of squash this idea that you can just sort of white knuckle it and quit porn. And by white knuckling, it basically just means that you can just not watch porn and not change anything else. Just through force of will, you can say, hey, I'm not doing that anymore, and then I'm not going to do it. Because if you can do that, well, then you've never had a porn problem to begin with, and this video doesn't apply to you, okay? So for most people, you're gonna have to engage in some kind of habit replacement. And why is that? Well, because it's neurologically more efficient. That's the best way that I can understand it, is that it's like the difference, like if you just try to white knuckle, that's like you trying to hold back a train. You know, you're trying to hold back this train track of neurons that you've created around this porn habit, and it's got a lot of momentum and a lot of power. And if you just try to white knuckle it, that's you just pushing against this train, and eventually you're gonna get tired and it's just gonna run you over. So the solution then is you gotta, instead of just stopping the train, you gotta divert the train. You gotta switch its track. And so instead you just need to maybe pull real hard on this lever that switches the tracks, but then then you can relax again. All right. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. That's why habit replacement is necessary. You can't just squash the urge. You have to learn how to redirect and create a new pathway through dealing with this kind of sensation and any of the circumstances around it. So usually guys, they'll try white knuckling it and it won't work. And then they'll think about it a little bit or they'll do some research and I got to do a habit replacement. And then the next big problem that people run into is they try to do a one-to-one replacement. They try to say, all right, instead of watching porn, I'll just do push-ups. Or instead of watching porn, I'll just do work. Or instead of watching porn, I will always just listen to music or go for a walk or something like that. And these are not bad ideas, but you're not going to be able to find a one-to-one replacement. And here's why. Because chances are, if you're struggling with porn, then you use porn to cope with a number of things in your life. All right. So it can help you manage stress. It can help you manage anxiety. It can help you manage feelings of loneliness. It can help you manage feelings of rejection, boredom, sadness. It can help you wake up in the morning. It can give you energy. It can help you calm down in the evening so you can go to sleep. It can do so many different things. And you're not going to be able to find one activity that does all those other things. The only thing like that potentially you could do a one-to-one replacement for is hard drugs, like heroin or something. That can sort of address all those things in the same way that porn can sort of address all those things. So unless you want to go down that route, which I don't recommend, then you actually need to incorporate a suite of new disciplines and behaviors into your life. Basically, you need to have appropriate responses for each of the reasons that you use porn. So we got to figure out what those things are. What are the main reasons you reach for porn? This is where some internal investigative work is probably going to be necessary. And your first reaction might be, I just use porn because I'm horny. Maybe that might be it. That's probably a piece of it. Okay. You do have a sex drive, but if you looked at my previous stuff, you'll also know that your sex drive has likely been massively inflated through porn use, and also because your brain has been taught that orgasm and sexual stimulation is the solution to other problems. So instead of actually letting you even feel those other problems, it just says, hey, give me my medicine. And so it creates this illusion that your only problem is that you're just so horny, when in reality that's not what's really the issue. The real issue is that you're not living a life that you want to be present in and that you want to be engaged in. And so you're looking for ways to escape. So there's a few major categories where guys lean on porn. Okay, probably the foremost one and kind of the most blanketed sort of thing is emotional management. A lot of guys, they don't know how to deal with their feelings, and because of that, they just nuke those feelings with porn. It's a pretty simple solution until it stops working and starts making your life worse, right? So, you got to identify what kind of emotions do you struggle with. Do you struggle with stress? Do you struggle with loneliness? Do you struggle with X, Y, and Z? And so if you're doing some journaling about yourself and you are trying to build up these streaks, then all of this stuff is going to start slowly rising to the surface. It's going to start coming up from this any sort of repression that you've been engaging in, and your emotional mind's going to be saying, hey, if you're not going to give me the porn, then will you at least look at the problem now? Will you look at this problem and address it for me? And the way it's going to present it to you is a little voice inside of you that's yelling, screaming, or crying, or freaking out. So don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of your emotions getting kind of erratic on you during this rebooting process, because what that is, that's just that part of you saying, hey, here's where the problem is. Will you please address this? And so the core habit change that you need to really, I would say, incorporate here is a habit of self-talk. Of honest self-talk and self-connection. And so if you watch my video on self-talk in the Sexual Self-Mastery series, I kind of break this down to you and why it's so important. And if you can talk to yourself well, then you can really kind of manage your life, right? It's such an important piece of managing your life. It's when you get upset, well, talk to yourself about it. When you get lonely, talk to yourself about it. And what you do then is you find out what are the solutions, what are the things you should be doing instead. And then you kind of need to do those things, right? You need to do those things. So, for a lot of guys, it's you're going to have to be productive, meaning you're going to have to get a certain amount of stuff done. Okay, that's one area maybe that you're struggling with. And that's how you kind of manage stress in a lot of instances is do the stuff that will make the stress go away. Then obviously there's some things that are going to cause you stress and worry that you can't do anything about. Well, that's, all self-talk. That's all perspective and mindset. So figure out what those things are and start developing healthier ways to look at that sort of stuff. And as you start digging into all of this, you might realize, wow, my life's a mess. I've got this problem, I got that problem. I'm out of shape. I have no discipline. I don't work hard. I have a job that I hate. I can barely keep my room clean, whatever. You might realize, all right, there's all these problems going on. And you might be thinking, holy crap, in order for me to quit porn, I got to fix all of this. No, not all at once, because you can't do it all at once. And that's kind of the trick here, is that there needs to be a progression. Because if you try to take everything on at once, it's kind of the same situation as you trying to hold back that train. It's too much, all right? You have limited amounts of willpower. And people debate this. They say, oh, ego depletion. That's the scientific term for limited willpower. They say, oh, there's studies that kind of say that that's not true, blah, blah, blah. It's here's the thing. It's you can only fight your emotions for so long, and so hard, all right? So it's the more your emotional mind is opposed to a different form of behavior, the shorter amount of time that you can voluntarily maintain that sort of trajectory. Okay. And so the reason why I think a lot of the studies are kind of unclear around ego depletion is because everybody's got different levels of aversion to different things. And if you have someone who does one set of tasks and they don't really have much mental aversion to it, well, they're going to be able to do that for forever. But you have someone who's super averse to something, well, it's going to feel super dang hard and they're only going to keep it up for a few seconds. So chances are for you, in order to make these lifestyle shifts that allow your life to be something much more comfortable and something that you're willing to be present in and maybe are engaged with, well, that's going to take some time to recondition those aversions. And if you try and take them on all at once, well, you're going to bankrupt yourself, your willpower, instantaneously. And I think most of us have an experience of that, right? We've all had that thing where it's oh, this sucks. I've been really slacking and I'm just going to go all out and I'm going to fix this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to work out 6 times a week. I'm going to meditate 4 hours a day, and we get real gung ho, and then it lasts for a day, and then we're back to right where we were, right? So there needs to be a bit more strategy to this. It's all right, on one hand, we got to aim for the stars. We got to shoot for a life that we're ultra passionate about and want. But we have to be realistic about how to get there. So the way that I recommend doing this is breaking it down into kind of 3 phases. All right. So while you're rebooting, I would just focus on calling this like a foundational phase. And all you really want to focus on changing is quitting porn and getting your basic self-discipline up to par. All right, making sure that you're taking care of your core responsibilities, making sure that you're managing your health and your body well enough. You're getting sleep, you're eating relatively well, you're moving yourself, and that you're starting to get your self-talk on point. Okay, and I actually created a whole big guide on this, the reboot regimen, which you can download for free by clicking the link below. And so I would say focus on that just for now, because if you can get your foundation down, if you can get your ability to kind of just manage yourself on a basic level and get clear from porn that's sucking all your dopamine and causing all these problems for you, if you can do that, then everything that comes afterward is going to be so much more powerful. And so you need to give yourself permission to put that more intense stuff, at least some of it, maybe a lot of it, on the shelf for now, and then just learn how to manage yourself. Now, once you start making a lot of progress in here, you start learning how to manage yourself on a day-to-day basis, you got your disciplines down, you're starting to get nice big streaks in quitting porn, that's when you're gonna start maybe moving into this next phase, which I would call an acceleration phase, where you start slowly picking up steam, you start bringing on some more of those reach goals. Maybe you start looking at building that business that you were talking about. Maybe you get back into the dating scene. Maybe you start pushing your fitness goals to a different level, okay? And this phase can last for a while, and it's pretty much like as you need to put less effort into staying clean for porn, then you can put more effort into other areas of your life. So it's like you can spend less time journaling and talking on porn recovery forums and watching videos like this, and you can start putting more energy into like doing the things that take you to the next level in the areas that you care about, okay? And then eventually this transition, it will be complete. And that's when you can go into phase 3, and that's like optimization phase. And that's where you're just focusing on really transforming into the best version of yourself, like at the highest level. And a lot of people, they just try to jump right to that place, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's just you don't have the foundation set up. You haven't like gathered the appropriate level of momentum and the appropriate vectors. And so it falls flat. And so don't take shortcuts. Porn is a shortcut. Getting out of porn is like learning how to, violently reject shortcuts. But with that being said, there is a bit of a tip that I can offer you for when you're really struggling with cravings. Like, what should you do? Sometimes it's not so clear. It's like, I should do this discipline, or I should do push-ups, or I should do whatever. A lot of times people try to just do stuff that's way too hard when you're really triggered. And guess what? You don't need to do that, especially during this foundation phase. Like, give yourself permission to do something easy. I call these safety behaviors. So this is a technique that I came up with in my very first course, a few years ago now. And it's really powerful. And the way it works is, all right, when you're triggered, you just get up and go for a walk. Or, you listen to some music. Or you do some kind of gentle activity that occupies your mind and your body and gives you some space to allow the urge to kind of come down. All right. And that's all there is to it. That's a really simple thing, but it does a lot. A lot of times guys try to do stuff that's really hard. They want to do push-ups when they're triggered. No, don't do that, because like you go to porn for a break. So just pick a better break. All right. And if you're picking a better break, well, then eventually the urge is going to pass, and then maybe you go do some more of the productive stuff. And, I'm not saying you should never push yourself when you're triggered to like go get this thing done or whatever. Sure, do that, but sometimes you're just not going to feel like you can do it. Sometimes it's just going to feel terrible, and you need to just cut yourself some slack, especially in this time where you're making all these changes that are new and different, and you haven't built much momentum. Give yourself permission to just like go for a walk and clear your head, or go take a nap, all right? That's what you should be doing in the times where your cravings kind of reach a peak. You got to be taking care of yourself in that regard, and then afterward, start getting yourself back on track in the other areas. So that's pretty much what I have for you guys today. You can't just quit porn by quitting porn. You have to quit porn by engaging in habit replacement. But you can't just replace it with one habit. It's got to be a lifestyle change that, you will progressively improve upon. Just starting with foundational stuff, learning how to develop your basic discipline and competence and the underlying areas of life. And then you slowly like evolve and move into a more elevated, self-mastered person, right? And in the meantime, when you get really, really triggered, just go easy on yourself. Just do something that creates some separation between you and porn. Go for a walk, take a nap, that sort of thing. So I hope you found this video useful and insightful and all that good stuff. And stay sharp. I'll see you in the next one. Hey, if you found this episode useful and you want to hear more, make sure you like, subscribe, and if you're tuning in on YouTube, make sure you hit that bell button to turn on notifications. But if you really like this content and you would like to join the tribe of Universal Men, then you need to head on over to the Universal Man Patreon page by clicking the link in the description. We call ourselves the Vanguard because we are committed to living on the front lines of life. By joining, you'll gain access to exclusive content, weekly accountability, community chat rooms, and live calls. Also, by joining the Vanguard, you become a part of my inner circle. Therefore, you get my prioritized attention. Most importantly, though, you'll be joining a crew of like-minded guys that can help support and inspire you on your journey of masculine self-mastery. So click the link below and sign up today.